Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be adding a new page in our math journal, and we're going to be talking about multiplying fractions as we did yesterday, but we're also going into dividing fractions. So if we just open this up, we're going to see that page 19 is multiplying and dividing fractions. Now, it's multiplying and dividing because the sheet that I have, it's going to look a little different. So it's going to have both multiplying and dividing on it. Okay, so it's going to be a good little refresher of the multiplying, and then we're getting into the new division. Okay, so we're opening all the way up to 17 here, or sorry, 19. All right. So I'm going to have to actually draw this one in as well. So multiplying and dividing fractions. Now, the sheet that you're going to get today looks like this. Okay. Now, you're going to get your own sheet, and if you have to write it in, that's fine. If not, we're going to fill this out just like it is now, and then I will show you how to cut it and paste it into your math journal. Okay, so I'm going to get my math journal out of the way for right now. Okay, now we've talked about multiplication, so we'll just go ahead and write this in. So if we remember back to our steps when multiplying fractions, we change each mixed number to an improper fraction. Okay. All right. So that was the first step. The next step we did was that we multiplied the numerators. The second step, actually the third step, is we do what? We multiply the denominators. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and work through this example. Now, the fourth step, they've broke it down into 4 steps, but yesterday in our math journal, sometimes we didn't have to change a mixed number. Okay, they were just fractions. So, all right, so let's go ahead and do this first one. So, if you remember, to change an improper fraction or a mixed number to an improper fraction, we multiply the denominator by the whole number, and then we add the numerator to that. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it. 7/8 times 2 times 1 is 2, and then plus 1 is 3. So I have 3 halves. Now, once we get here, we multiply straight across. 7 times 3 is 21. 16 divided by, or 8 times 2 is 16. Okay? Now, if we remember back to our definitions, okay, 21 over 16, numerator is larger than the denominator, which means it's an improper fraction. Okay? So, I'm going to go up here and turn my improper fraction to a mixed number. Okay? Remember, our numerator divided by our denominator. Now, 16 goes into 21. Well, it goes into it 1. Okay? And then we have 16. When we subtract those, we get what? We get a 5. All right. So, if we remember, this number is our whole number. This is our numerator now. And our 16, well, where did it start at? Well, it was our denominator. Okay. Okay. So now 21/16 is equal to 1 and 5/16. Okay? So that's just kind of a little refresh. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about division. Okay? Now, multiplication and division is, I'm going to say they are the same thing. And by this, I mean that if you have two positive numbers, if you have two numbers that are the same sign, well, then your answer is always going to be positive. If these numbers, if one had a negative and one was a positive, so if they were opposite signs, different signs, then they would have a negative answer or negative quotient. Okay? So division is the same in multiplication in that if they have the same sign, then they will be positive. If they have separate signs, they will be negative. Okay? All right, so let's look at division. So change each mixed number to an, well, we're going to follow the same step right here for right now. It's an improper fraction. We're going to change it to an improper fraction. Okay. All right. Now the second one says rewrite the blank fraction. Well, we're rewriting the first fraction. Okay, and that's what we're talking about as if it's a mixed number. Okay, we're going to rewrite it as an improper fraction. Okay. Then we change the division to multiplication. Okay? We change it to multiplication. All right? The next step, find the blank of the second fraction. Well, that's called, we're going to find the reciprocal. Okay? And all that means is the reciprocal is that second fraction, we're going to flip it. Okay? And then we multiply. So another way to look at this is to keep, change, and flip that second one. Okay? Now, we always have to change our mixed number first. Okay? So let's go ahead and change this mixed number. So we're going to multiply and then we're going to add, and we're going clockwise. So we're going like a clock would run. So 4 times 2 is 8, and then plus 3 is 11. Okay, and we bring our, I'm kind of in the dotted line, but we bring our denominator down to 4. We change, so we're going to change that to multiplication, and we're going to flip this, which means I'm going to flip the numbers. I'm just going to switch places. All right, so we keep, change, flip. Okay? Now, once we get it here, well, we're going to treat it just like we did multiplication. Multiply straight across. So we're going to get a 33 over 8. Okay? Now, you'll see that this gives us a what? Well, it gives us an improper fraction. Okay? Now, I'm going to just draw my line. 33 divided by 8, numerator divided by the denominator. Okay? So, 8 goes into 33 4 times. And that's going to give us 32. 4 times 8 is 32. We subtract. That gives us a 1. Okay? So if we look over, here's what I've got. We look over here, whole number, numerator, denominator. Okay? So I'm just going to write it out again. This is our whole number. This is our numerator. Okay? And this is our denominator. So now we have 4 whole number, numerator 1, denominator 8. So 4 1/8. Now, you can cut this out before you work through these, which will be fine, because now when I go back and cut it, I'm going to have to cut kind of out of those lines right there. Okay? So that's how that's gonna look. I might just trim it all down and go from there. But okay, so when we divide, okay, our first fraction is going to stay the same. Now, if we have a mixed number, we have to change it to an improper fraction first. Okay. Once we change it to an improper fraction, we're going to keep it that, change division to multiplication, and flip the next one. Okay? Then if we have an improper fraction, we'll do the work that we need to, okay, to simplify it. All right? Okay. Now, I just talked about this just a second ago, so it works the same way. All right? So if the signs are the blank, the product / quotient will be blank. All right? So if the signs are the same, all right, so if they're both positive or they're both negative, the product, that's multiplication, okay? The quotient is division, okay? Well, if they're the same, I'm going to have a positive. Okay? I'm going to have a positive. Now, if we're talking about the same and positive down there, in this sentence, if the signs are different, the product, which is multiplication, and the quotient, which is division, is negative. All right. So we talked about multiplication yesterday, so I want you to go ahead and finish those. Okay, you can do those on your own, the multiplication ones. Okay, and I will do the division. I'll do a couple of these division ones. Okay. So, okay. Here we have -3/10 divided by -4/5. Okay. Now, when we do this, we notice that this is not an improper fraction, neither one, and neither one are a mixed number. Okay? So we can just do the keep, change, flip, the KFC, okay? So we're going to keep the -3/10. We're going to change that division to multiplication, and we're going to flip our -4/5. Okay? So that's going to give us, and once we get here, we just multiply straight across. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15. Okay. And 10 times 4 is 40. Now, we have two negatives, so those are the same sign. Same signs. My answer is going to be positive. So I have a positive 15 over 40. Now, we need to try to simplify any chance that we can get. Okay? So if we simplify, we need to see if, well, one of the numbers will go into the other. Well, 15 will not go into 40 evenly. Okay? Or 40 won't go into 15 evenly. But we notice that one is a 5 and one is a 0. The last numbers are 5 and 0. So 5 will go into both of these. So we divide the top and the bottom by 5. Okay? And 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay? 40 divided by 5 is 8. So 3/8 would be our final answer, okay, for this one. Okay. Now, we have a mixed number divided by a regular fraction. So if we have a mixed number, the first thing we need to do, well, we need to change it to an improper fraction, okay? So change it to an improper fraction. So we multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add the numerator. So 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3, 11/8. Okay. So now we have that. We're going to change this to multiplication, and we're going to flip this one. So we got 88, or 8 over 1. Remember to flip that second one. Okay, flip that second fraction. Okay, so now we have 11 times 8. That's 88. Okay. We have 8 times 1, which is 8. Now we just divide. 88 divided by 8 gives me 11. Okay. Now, like I said, you can just kind of trim this up a little bit and put it in your math journal. I'm going to see if that's going to work. Okay. Now, down at the bottom of the page, it says the rules can be expanded with 2 or more terms. Describe the pattern you observe. Okay. Now, when we're talking about this, okay, if the signs are the same, the product or quotient is positive. Okay. So, this says can be expanded with more than 2 terms. So let's look. We have 2 terms, okay? They have the same sign, and our solution is what? Is it positive or negative? Well, it's positive. Okay. So, now we have 3 terms, which means we have 3 numbers, okay? So they all have the same sign, okay? They all have the same sign. So negative 2 times negative 2 was what? Well, that's a positive 4 times a negative 2, okay? So we have 3 terms. Our solution is a negative, okay? Now, what can we see? It says describe the pattern you observe. We have 2. Our solution is what if they have the same sign? Positive. If we have 3 and they have the same sign, okay, what's our answer going to be? Negative. Okay? So, I want you to finish those next 2. Describe the pattern you observe. So I want you to look at these and see what kind of pattern that you think that you see, and I want you to write it right here. Okay? Now, this has been kind of a long video, but we've been talking about division. I want you to finish up all the rest of these problems. Okay? I want you to solve them right where they're at. Okay? Finish this up. Once you do that, I want you to cut it out, or if you have to, write it in. Okay? And then I want you to, there'll be 5 questions, division questions, okay, for the other assignment for today. Okay? And then I want you to be ready, be looking back through your math journal and be ready for Wednesday when you're going to get your study guide. Okay? So, finish this up. I'll pause it for just a second, and I'll cut it out, and I'll go ahead and put it in here. And I might have to put some on this side, but that's okay. All right? Okay, so this is kind of how it's going to look when it's in your math journal. Okay, I did have to separate it. But just go ahead and finish those. a few problems that you have left and make sure that you describe the pattern that you observe. Okay. Like I said, there's going to be five problems for you to do on the division. Okay, so be looking for those as well.